Most gardeners, Tino, think that life is actually just above the ground, but there's an enormous amount of life, other than worms, that are actually in the soil that help the plants to grow.
Most definitely, this relationship between the plants and the organisms in the ground is what makes good gardening. If you can get your soil correct, then your plants will follow.
95% or more of plants actually have a relationship with a soil microorganism or some form of relationship with other types of organisms in the soil that benefit both parties. An example of this is this fantastic silver birch. And the silver birch has a relationship with a bacteria that lives in its roots, and it assists it to grow in environments that are often poor in certain types of nutrient.
One of the best examples of this are plants that we term as legumes. That's things like peas and beans here. Now they do an amazing thing. They get nitrogen from the atmosphere, transport it through themselves and store it in their roots in these little nodules. So for the home gardener, these plants are great. Not only do they provide you with food, but they also improve your soil.
Now, wattle trees are another example of a leguminous plant, a plant that has nodules on its roots with bacteria in there that actually fix nitrogen and improve the soil underneath for them to be able to grow lush, even in poor soils. Welcome to Tino and Marcus down on the farm.
This is actually an industrial worm farm, and if you wanted an example of how organic matter really enhances life in your soil, then you've just got to have a look at this. It's filled, it's teeming with life. You've got micro and macroorganisms there. We've got heaps of worms.
There certainly are, and look, this is actually a worm farm, so it's not your usual farm. And what we've got in here, in this sort of commercial worm farm, we feed these worms a whole lot of different types of vegetable scraps, all kinds of things, and that makes them breed like mad, and we get hundreds and hundreds of worms developing in this fantastic environment, and turning that litter into this amazing organic material.
And this material, when added to your soil, will not only improve the nutrient capacity of your soil, but also the water holding capacity, meaning that you'll save water and your plants will do better.
So how can we actually encourage organisms into our garden? One of the easiest ways is actually to add organic materials into the garden soil. And an easy way of doing that is actually in your garden bed to provide a compost pathway. And this can be as easy as just a straw-based pathway, and then you can contribute other materials from the garden itself. Anything that you trim off your vegetables or other plants can go in underneath the actual straw itself, feeding the soil organisms, and in turn the soil organisms will then migrate out to your plants and assist them to grow. Tino, isn't it amazing that we've got these plants on planet Earth here that have survived for millions of years on this planet without any of our inputs, and they're surviving because of those magnificent organisms that are actually in the soil itself.
So by enhancing those organisms below the surface, you'll be enhancing your organisms above the surface. The message is, add organic matter.
Precisely that. Let's go and get a coffee.